Welcome to KTfm for our Alien special, right? Alien recording with me, Tom Savery,
Karl-James Langford, and our wonderful special guest,
Daz Lovegold, aka Daz the Druid.
And you know what? That is a great introduction. So this show itself is going to be a podcast, and I don't know where we're going to go with this. We've not done this type of recording before. We'll stick out a YouTube illustrated alien video, how that's going to go with sound. So Tom, as I said to you on the phone, I'm just going to let this flow, and I think you said the same. So I think
it's Dazzy's show today.
Yeah, I think Daz needs to do everything.
I want to know about Greys, I want to know about Anunnaki, Galia, Nordics, all that.
Okie dokie. Well, yeah, it's a complicated subject. We are a prime piece of real estate in the multiverse, and as you can appreciate, there's lots of different extraterrestrial races have had a hand in our creation. And the thing is, you mentioned the Anunnaki. Well, the Anunnaki really are the last marker on Earth. The Anunnaki they were on Earth about 880,000 years ago. They created, quote, Adam and Eve. Now, Adam and Eve were black. That was in the days of Pangea, when everybody was black. And it's about 880,000 years ago. But of course, Pangea split. Pangea split about 680,000 years ago. And of course, when Pangea split, that was a hell of a thump, and it was a extinction level event. So, from the Anunnaki's original creation of Earth humans who were black, then certain extraterrestrial races, because of course they have time travel, were invited to come and take some of the original Earth humans, the black ones, off the planet before the comet hit to split Pangea and kill everything, and then reseed back on the Earth. And the original black Earth humans were seeded, and the white races, the red races, and the yellow races were all created from the original black Earth humans.
Can I just jump in here? Today I've been doing the archaeology, the art of mythical beasts, and by the end of it, most of the mythical beasts weren't mythical at all. But one of the things we looked at was the foundation beast of the Aztec world. It's an unpronounceable beast, and it said that this beast couldn't be tamed and had to be split to create the cosmos, right? And it's almost as if this thing is being split, as you know, the continents were split, and then this ties directly into what Daz is talking about, which is strange because lots of these things, Adam and Eve, you mentioned Adam and Eve, right? So lots of these things have a core, and we'll go back to your core.
Yeah. So you have basically Adam and Eve. See, Dr. Brian Sykes in his book, he's a DNA expert, has proven that everyone's descent is the 7 daughters of Eve. And he's actually been able to prove it with DNA markers that everybody in Europe is descended from 7 women, and everyone in the world is descended from 35 women, basically. So that was obviously back in the rewind, that was back in the day when the Palladians, for example, they're white and they're pale. So they created all the white races. And then you had the Venetians from Venus created the yellow races, and you had the Plutonians created the red races. And of course the original black Earth humans, that was the original one that was created by the Anunnaki. See, now the Anunnaki is quite current, because you've heard of Nibiru. Well, Nibiru is the Anunnaki's home planet, and they are steering it like the Death Star towards us. But what the light, because the Anunnaki dismantled, we're supposed to have 12 strands of DNA, not 2, and they dismantled the other 10 to in effect make us slaves. So when the light found out what they did, because of course they were planning on coming back now, and basically harvesting up, everyone's done their dirty work.
So why don't they come back now? What's stopping them?
The Light have about 350,000 ships in orbit, and basically, if the Anunnaki come back, their home planet will be disintegrated.
Right.
So they are. That's why we'll never see Nibiru in our lifetime, because it is being prevented from coming here because they were naughty, and they've done even worse things to us out of spite. What they did is they opened up invisible portals to the Earth. They left back doors, like a computer, like Apple,
Like Stargate.
Yeah, it's Stargate.
Yeah, I used to love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've left back doors, and of course they've been banned. So they thought, right, stuff you. So they opened up these invisible portals that neither the angels, the gods, the ascended masters, no one can see these things, and they sent these invisible demons through to really screw with us. And none of the angels, gods, or ascended masters can see these, because they are like a, if you tune a radio, these are on a frequency that nobody can see. And the Light have been working busily trying to hack these. It's like trying to hack these codes, but they're very difficult to hack. So there's a real problem, because your average demons were sent here at the same time as angels, and you say extraterrestrials, both demons, angels, and gods. They are all extraterrestrial beings, every single one of them. But I call them higher dimensional beings, because they're much higher in dimension than your Anunnaki, for example, or your Palladians that created us. It goes in a scale of density and dimension. We are the first rung of the ladder, and we are third density. Before third density is second density, which is animals, and before that, first density, which is plants. So we are basically the first rung of the ladder. We are babies in the evolutionary scale of things. The Anunnaki I mentioned are about 35th density. So it's roughly a billion years between densities. So they're 35 billion years ahead of us in technological advancement.
Can I just chuck something in here? Right. The first question is where do you get this information from? But I think that's a second question, because the one question that intrigues me is this. My partner Michelle says to me, she says, our chickens are evolved from the likes of the Velociraptor, right? Now, the Velociraptor become extinct. Forget about timelines here. They became extinct for one reason or another. I don't believe in 1 minute the Earth was hit by a meteor or whatever. But anyway, long story. Start again. I don't believe for 1 minute the Earth was hit by a meteor that wiped out all the dinosaurs. I don't believe that at all. That's not what the evidence is telling us. But one thing that I do believe is that the chickens themselves are highly devolved, because the Velociraptors were highly intelligent. They were massively intelligent. And it said if the Velociraptors hadn't have gone the way they went, and whatever way they went, and I know you've got an answer for this, they would have certainly not devolved into chickens, right? Chickens now should be talking. They should be flying in the air and have to speak through their minds and stuff. So there's certain things that don't make sense, and there's certain people want to believe that there's different areas of evolution that don't make any sense, to explain things that we don't understand. And then that leads us on to the big question is, where do you get your information from?
Well, I'm a channel, so I basically get my most of my information from Akashic Records. But as I was explaining to Tom before, I actually went... See, the extraterrestrials, they won't fly where there's military aircraft, and they won't fly where there is civilian aircraft, because they don't want interference. So there are certain places in our country of Wales that you can go and you can be guaranteed that there's no military or civilian aircraft, so they're safe then to come down. And I went to one of these places the other Sunday evening.
But there can't be many of them, because it's obviously not around you, because there's loads of planes and you've got the military base and stuff.
Was it like Stonehenge?
It was actually at a place, I can't be too specific.
No, don't be.
Because obviously it's in the public domain.
Don't be.
But the first time see, the Palladians, who created all the white races, they actually put what's called a lineup up. So basically, they put some craft in the sky twice a year just to put a little show on. And then they sent the message out to see who picked up the message. And I was one of the only people to pick up the message. And I went to this place, and this is how I know that there were. It's like a aircraft-free zone. It's because I was guided to this place, and then it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'll never forget it. I got to this top of this hill, and then I was with a friend, and we had a flask, and we had the dog.
It sounds ideal.
It was amazing. They fixed the weather and everything.
Yeah.
But the most amazing thing was, we were guided to a certain field, and all the gates were left open. They'd come down and they'd opened all the gates to guide us to a specific thing, and the dog could smell the extraterrestrial. The dog was going nuts.
Right,
the dog
okay.
could smell.
No, I like this gate thing. It's good. It's good.
The dog could smell the gates.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm a channel as well, so they said shut the gates on the way out, on the way down. So.
All right, well, you've got to do some work, haven't you?
But it was a wonderful. That was my first experience, and I went to another lineup since, and then obviously that's how I found this little black hole that they use, and whenever I need information from them, I have to head to this place.
So why do they need to give the information to you? What are they gaining out of it?
Well, it's I used to be a troubleshooter in business, so I think that's why they kind of picked me, because I don't have to look for trouble.
Do you want to tell us what you used to do, or?
I used to work in development. I used to be land manager and land director for some house builders.
Yeah.
And then I worked in telecommunications as well on the 3G rollouts, doing all the planning permissions for the networks.
Yeah.
And they were good jobs, but I kind of. I've got tenth of the money that I used to have, and I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. So it's and it's been a complete change of outlook, and it was I was told in a dream, give everything up and I'll get the good stuff. So I literally gave everything up, and I gave everything up. You make a list of everything else I've ever loved, and I've given it all up because I got the good stuff now. So this is why Ashtar, have you heard that name, Ashtar?
Have you?
It rings a bell.
It's called Ashtar Command,
Okay.
and Ashtar basically is a high dimensional being that is basically connected with the angels, who are also higher dimensional beings. The angels and the gods, they're both ETs, and Ashtar's gone home now, but when Ashtar was here, because Ashtar knew I was a troubleshooter, used to come down and see me twice a year and say, well, we got this, what would you do about this, or can I get your take on that? So, because obviously I know my way through the system. So that's why Maitreya, on my first ever meditation, Maitreya, who was Krishna and Jesus, he appeared to me in my meditation and said, look, if I need you, will you help me? So yeah, of course I'll help you.
Right.
So I've been helping him too, but the reason why I went to channel the extraterrestrials is because I asked them. I want them to help Maitreya. Maitreya won't come back unless he's got the backup of the extraterrestrials.
Do you know one thing that's convincing about this conversation is Darren's recall of names.
Yeah.
It's completely bewildering.
I live beyond the veil, and it's a wonderful thing.
It is bewildering.
It's a wonderful thing, and it got a bit weird at the start, but you see, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I started my journey, and I admit it, I was too trusting, and I was leaving Glastonbury. How freakish was this?
Go on.
I was leaving Glastonbury after work there.
You mentioned Glastonbury. Now that's the place.
Well, I work at the festival every year on the bins.
Yeah.
And I'd done a 5-week stint or whatever, and I was told to leave on a certain day at a certain time, and I kind of, I listen to advice. I follow them. I don't follow me. And you must know Stanton Drew.
Who doesn't
Must
know Stanton Drew?
Stanton
Do you know Stanton Drew? It's a weird stone circle. It could be a lot more. It's been mucked around with. It's been desecrated. There's sheep in the field. There's mud everywhere. But the nice stones that still survive down there, right?
Stonehenge.
It could have been Stonehenge, but lots of the stones have been removed. But there's still a few stones there.
But the farm is lovely, and there's just nice vibe down there.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's due north of Glastonbury. I was saying head there. I had to be there by 4 o'clock. So I got there just on the nail, and I just walked in. You know that funny gate thing.
There's a funny gate there,
and there's a woman on. She's just pondering. Like that, looking.
Well, you would expect to see her there. This is Stanton Drew, yeah.
Only one woman there.
Yeah.
She's pondering. She's leaning on that wall bit as that funny dog leg, looking over the stones.
Yeah.
And I was walked down and I said hi, and she looked around. She said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "What do you mean? I would like to help you. Can I help you?" So okay.
Right.
So she started talking to me in tongues.
Yeah.
And then she said, I've helped you all I can. You must get rid of those false ego guides. Okay. So I've got false ego guides in my head, but she did some stuff, and she did some clearing that we just got everything just. And she said, she said, all your work up until now, you throw it in the bin. You start again. This is your start. So I had 5 years' work, went in the bin, and I started again. Is
this because I met you? I've told you a bit about my meeting Darren, right? And as I said, this show today is part of a series, so it doesn't really matter. But when I met Darren, right, I was in a church graveyard and I was visiting a gravestone that I'd visit for a child that was 18 months old, and she's called Harriet Elizabeth Connor, and she was buried on the 10th of June 1828, and in Sully Church graveyard.
And I was guided to that graveyard to meet you.
Yeah, and
I've driven past that graveyard hundreds of times, and something told me to stop.
And I met this bloke.
Yeah.
And this bloke who I'd never met before, and he started talking to Harriet, and it was like, is Harriet happy? And you said she was and stuff. So that was the start. Now the reason why I jump in there with this, right, and is because that was around 2012, I think it was.
Oh, that was I met you before. I picked
the
up
readjustment.
The readjustment.
Right. This is what I was getting at. This is what I was getting at. Yeah.
You know, it was what it is. Is you can't. They're not false guides. They're just blocks in your neural pathways.
You were talking about Uriel.
Yeah. Oh no. Look, the thing is, when you can get through to the angels, that's fine. But when they're not always with, and then you get others. You see, I have this now, so that I can guarantee. This is my Agla pendant. This is actually wood from. See, Agla, AGLA in a circle.
Right.
And that's from wood.
Oh, I can see it. Yeah.
Agla.
Yeah.
Just faint.
And that's wood from a 700-year-old tree at Avebury.
Nice.
And that's my kind of like.
Nice.
If I take any, I just show them that. But you see, I was doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Thinking that I was going to have to fight demons, right? Okay.
Because I can remember this, because you used to have all these things around your neck. I
was going to be a warrior.
Yeah.
Then after all the clearing, it's just turned. There's no battle. No battle.
No.
Right? The demons are actually in the service to the light, and if you ask them nicely, they'll just do things for you. Belial, the chief demon, got my laptop back at Christmas. He went and spooked the thieves, and 2 days later I got my laptop back.
How does that work?
No, because they are part of the light's crew. The Infernal Empire work for the light. So, their job is to weed out the weak. But you see, those demons are extraterrestrials too. The gods are extraterrestrials, the angels are extraterrestrials. They all higher dimensional beings. They live on planets 150 billion years ahead of us.
So I want to talk about the physical. I want to know about this laptop thing, right? So your laptop was stolen.
Yeah, laptop stolen on about the 17th of December.
Yeah. So what happens next?
And then so in December, so I called Merlin. I said, oh, look, because the angels don't deal too much. Merlin's all right. He doesn't mind getting his hands dirty. So I said, look, ask your mate. Get Belial. Say to Belial, you know where the thief is. You know where they live. See if Belial will go round their house and spook them. See if they go round on Christmas Day. That'll make it.
Bit spooky, yeah.
Spooky, flippin' heck.
So what happened was, because Merlin goes back in time, so Merlin went back in time and put some curses on him anyway, just to make him feel
As you
worse.
do, as he does.
And then on Christmas Day, they sent the spooks round, and on Boxing Day I got my laptop back, handed to one of the neighbours. I wasn't up there, I was down here for Christmas. But I wanted the laptop handed in to one of the neighbours on Boxing Day.
How the hell does that work?
It's
But I'm over questioning this. I shouldn't be, but I just wanted.
I got a question.
I wanted a physical. Go for it.
You're saying about demons, they're associated with what called like ghost stuff.
Yeah.
I think ghost walks. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
We'll do. Actually, I've got a topic for the next show. Ghosts.
Yeah, but
This is my question.
Yeah.
Where's the crossover point? Because you got aliens.
Yeah.
And you got ghosts. So are they the same thing or?
Yeah, technically they are.
So we sort of ascend. Is that like
exactly? There's rungs of the ladder. We are in. Have you had buzzing in your ears at all?
All the time.
Yeah. Well, this is not
You were
tinnitus.
You were talking about that. Yes.
Frequencies. And what it is, we are in the throes of going up one of the rungs of the ladder, and it's right on the cusp now. And it has been delayed. It should have been 2013, but for various reasons, it's been delayed. And there's a critical mass. When it reaches 30% of the population qualifying, then the ascension process starts, and then it'll last 5 years, and then nobody's leaving or anything like that. So then, when you die, do you stay in this world or do you go to the new one? And the new one is Earth, but it's a brand new version of Earth. None of this will be in our new. It'll be like a blank canvas.
So is it like on like a different plane or?
It'll be like
different dimensions.
It'll be a different plane. It'd be like a tune in the dial. It'd be the next FM frequency.
So and then when you get that dial, then the ghosts and spirits come through. Yeah.
Well, it all depends. If those ghosts and spirits qualify, then they'll make the jump too, and then the ones that don't qualify will stay on this earth and have.
Is that like a disembodied entity or something like that?
Well, no. We are. When we die, our body loses 17 grams, and that's our spirit leaving our physical body. Our physical body is ashes to ashes, dust to dust, that's gone. And our spirit rejoins the one, because we are all one. And then that spirit, currently our spirits are third density spirits. Now it all depends, after when we die, whether our spirit stays as a part of the third density spirit, or whether it moves and becomes a part of the fourth density spirit. And it's very simple. It's a spiritual ascension, and you just not got to fall for anything, whether it be any aspect of the belief system. There's money, media, religion, secret societies. If you're falling for any of them, you're not ascending.
Can I just make one point, man? I've spoken to Tom about the hard journey coming off Facebook, right? At the beginning of the year, right? I thought being on because it was getting to me, and it got to you in a different way.
Yeah.
And this is more or less getting to a conclusion. I was using Facebook for work, right? But I was finding out that the amount of people who say, they're going to come to this event and that event, they never would. But anyway, I communicate with a few people. I get loads of negative stuff. I had lots of negative stuff last year on Facebook, death threats, all this type of stuff, right? Anyway, long story short, decided at the beginning of the year, I'm going to look at my Facebook in the morning. I'm going to look at my Facebook when I get home, and I'm going to look at my Facebook in the evening. A few weeks later, I thought, hang on a minute, you're not going to do that. You're now going, as I said, what you're going to do, you're going to look at Facebook once a week, right? And for the first week I did that, it was absolute hell. I thought, my God, people were saying, oh, you ignored me. You know, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to that. You didn't come. And I said, look, I am in control of my Facebook, right? It turned out that everyone else was. I'm in control of my Facebook. So anyway, after a week, right, I went on there. I didn't feel too good, right? I tried this for a second week. What did I say? I absolutely felt crap, right? I felt really ill. And now, right, I've gone to the stage that I'm actually thinking I'm going to leave it 8 days. I might leave it 9. And I'm going on there and there's absolutely nothing of worth on it. And I'm just realising, why did I put so much energy into it in the first place? And I've made that realisation. Is that good or not?
Well, it's at the end of the day, you've made your choice. Some people can handle social media,
Okay,
some people can't. It just drives you nuts. It can drive you nuts if you let it, but then that's life, isn't it? It can drive you nuts if you let it. I have a saying: you surf life, you don't wade through it. And social media is I got bounced from an angel. I got bounced from an angel group, believe it or not, for telling them the truth. And the truth is that the angels and the gods, these extraterrestrials, these higher dimensional beings, they're arranged in regions. So our angels and gods in Europe aren't the same to the ones in North America, and
Yeah,
they're not the same
yeah.
to the South America, and
Yeah.
there's Africa. But the ones in Asia have been evacuated because of the Fukushima disaster. They've been evacuated. So this is why pendulums...
So who are people talking to in Japan then?
They're not. Right, the thing is, when you do divination,
Yeah, okay.
your mind can affect the results if you don't stay neutral.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
people are just making up their own answers, basically. They
Right,
don't.
okay.
They have no angels or gods. They've all been evacuated because Fukushima is really bad. Fukushima's increased the temperature Pacific by 4 degrees. And it's
How?
over 60 times Chernobyl. It's just like putting an immersion heater into the Pacific Ocean. It's
Right, okay.
terrible.
Right.
There were, was it 3 million spent nuclear fuel rods there? It's just like an immersion heater.
Yeah.
Terrible. But the ETs, see, that's the thing. They can help with most things,
Yeah.
and they have been doing.
Right.
But the one thing that cannot be fixed is nuclear radiation, because it's kind of difficult to glue atoms back together, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but
Bang. Yeah.
but this is one of the reasons why I went to the extraterrestrials. They like working with me for the simple reason I'm working with Merlin and the Ascended Masters, and the Ascended Masters, they don't work with just anyone, and Merlin is one of the few Ascended Masters that can go backward and forward in time. Like none of the gods, none of the angels can go back and forward in time at will, but Merlin can. So that's an amazing tool. But you see, we can't just go back in time and say fix that, fix that, fix that, because they'll just ignore it. So what we have to do, I have to do meetings with the extraterrestrials. I have to put what we want them to do. Then I have to go back, and then they have to give me codes to send back, so that they know that it's been agreed. You with me?
Yeah.
So
the information's out there. They got to have confirmations, like a
Yeah.
telex thing, whatever. Yeah.
So I want them to blow apart. If they blow apart before Fukushima, then there's no Fukushima, because Fukushima was caused by the heart machine. Fukushima wasn't natural, it was caused by the High Active Auroral Research Program from Alaska. The American government did it. So
There's a few weird things going on. Tom, what we're going to do, we're going to take a break in about a minute and a half. I want you to ask Daz something. Go for it.
So where do the Greys and the Nordic
okay, great. Okay, the Nordics, right? Greys and the Nordics. See, the Nordics were here long ago, and the Nordics are also known as the Aryans.
Yeah.
The Aryans were basically the ETs. They were a crash group of ETs. So you see, all these tall skulls, all these long skeletons and everything, there's about a dozen, maybe 15 groups of extraterrestrials that have either crash landed or they've just run out of fuel or whatever on the Earth. So they weren't permanent residents. They just ended up here. The Nordics were one of those crash crews, and they ended up shaping the caste system, and they did the work in India, basically shaped the current climate. They lived underground. They are not here. They were evacuated from the earth. There's no longer here. The Greys never flew here. The Greys tunnelled in from another reality.
Oh, okay.
So they never flew here, and they tunnelled in, and they basically did a deal with the USA to do some dodgy dealings.
So what we're going to do, we're going to take a little break there, and we're going to come back with the Greys and the Nordics, and I'm going to chuck in Roswell after the break. Thank you very much. We'll be back soon.